And we are live, Dinga and DeRosa, a House Enterprise and House of College Hoops podcast. My name is Chris Dinga. Along with me is Michael DeRosa, as always, and Cole Amundson is our special guest talking about the Big Ten today. Cole, how are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, Chris. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Staying
Excited to
positive,
break.
testing negative, living the life.
There you go. Can't beat it, right?
We are going to break down the Big Ten. One quick newsworthy, I think something worth our time. We already went over the Big East. A couple key injuries, Michael, to some Xavier guys that we won't see at all this season. Why don't you let the viewers in on that?
Yeah, so both Zach Fremantle, his foot, seemingly something went wrong in rehab, so he's got to redo the surgery. And then Jerome Hunter had that scary injury during the offseason. Doesn't look like both are going to play this season, and both were expected to start and play big minutes for Xavier. So I think this really changes how you look at that Xavier team. There was already the team I felt the least confident in the Big East, and now with this, I have no read on this team.
Yeah, so we had Xavier 7th in our rankings before this was confirmed. Now, I don't know. Like I could genuinely see them getting 9th in the conference.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, I know nothing about the international guys they brought in. I haven't taped them, and it's so hard to see if they're going to be good or not and how they translate. But they're going to be really relying on those guys now for where we thought they'd be end of bench, maybe like other spark minutes or developmental pieces. They're key guys now. So we'll see how Sean Miller manages that.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, we are going to hop into the Big Ten rankings. For those of you just listening on the audio version, we do have it up on the YouTube at the House Enterprise YouTube if you want to follow along there as well. The first team on our list, and we're going to start from the back. And as a reminder, we ranked myself, Cole, and Michael all ranked 14 teams. And then starting at the back, the cumulative score of 14 is Minnesota. Nobody is confident in the Gophs to get out of the cellar. Cole, we'll go to you here. What's the key for Minnesota, and can they get into even like 12th or 11th in the conference? Is that even possible?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think the key for them this year specifically would be their guard play. I think it's much improved. So if you talk they got 2 transfers with Pepperdine transfer Mike Mitchell and Howard transfer Elijah Hawkins. Both are guards. And I think what's huge with this is the fact that these are guards, but not only super senior guards, but these are guards that Ben Johnson could hopefully use to develop. This could help. I mean, I don't know. He might be on the hot seat right now. If you saw their non-conference schedule today that came out, it was not good, right? Which that only says one thing, that the pressure's on him from AD Mark Hoyle said, listen, Ben, you got to win some games. Who knows? That's just my assumption. I'm just assuming, but I think that's what it's going to be reliant on. I mean, I know Ola Joseph, Pharrell Payne should have bigger years. And then you also got, obviously, Dawson Garcia. So that should round up their starting 5 right there. I don't see a whole lot from them. I mean, they could have realistically 15 wins, but that's coming from probably like 10 or 9 from non-conference. I mean, their best game would be San Francisco in the Chase Center, and they also got Missouri, which is a home and home, which they'll play that at the barn. The rest of that's nothing. So, I mean, it's going to be hard for them to get out of the cellar for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a huge Elijah Hawkins fan. I really liked him at Howard, and he was someone when he played at DeMatha next to Jordan Hawkins. I really liked him. I thought he was a high major guard that whole time. I still think he's a high major guard.
Sure.
I just wish he went to a better team because, man, yeah. I really want to root for him in the tournament. I really like Elijah Hawkins. He's quick, he's skilled, very good passer. He did a ton for that Howard team. He was really good when Howard made their late season push. So,
sure. Yeah,
I just want to root for him. But yeah. I think Cole hit just about everything. One thing I wanted to mention, though, is this Parker Fox kid. I believe he was one of the guys they brought in from D2. He got hurt last year. They don't really have like a real post player. Maybe he can be something. I don't know. But yeah. I just can't see them breaking out of the bottom.
Yeah, Parker Fox is interesting. I did go to a D2 school and in this conference, the Northern Sun. And so I watched Parker Fox play live a few times, and he was sweet. But once again, that's the D2 level and also coming off a huge injury. So we'll see there. Losing Jamison Battle, and again, he had a down year last year, only 12 points a game, but he's still a really talented kid, and it hurts to lose him. Yeah, when you're – Cole brought up the non-conference schedule, and I was joking around with some people today. If your third hardest game is hosting Florida Gulf Coast, then
Terrible.
Hey, FGCU, they win games sometimes. Don't they win games? Don't forget that one.
There you go, Pat Chambers. Let me tell you, right?
Patty C. Yes, homecoming to the Big Ten. Patty C. All right. Well, we won't spend too much time on the Gophers. I just don't see the upside, guys. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
I love Elijah Hawkins, though.
Yeah, no, he's fun.
Yeah,
good.
Okay, 13th. And we're all kind of still in alignment at Nebraska with a cumulative score of 12.6. Cole 1 spot ahead of myself and Michael on the Huskers. Nebraska was really feisty down the stretch, guys. They won quite a few games down the stretch, and if they won 2 or 3 games in the Big Ten tournament, maybe an at-large conversation last year. So, where do you think the Nebraska's trajectory is going long term, Michael?
Long term, I think Hoiberg was like when he was like still at Iowa State, he was really known for his work in the transfer portal. So I feel like he could adapt to this stuff well. But yeah, I feel like long term I see some upside, but this season I just don't really see it. I think Tominaga is a really good lead. I think he's going to be a beast of a scorer at least, but I don't know how much I trust him as the lead option. I feel like I'd like him as like a 2 or a 3, just really a nice complementary piece who, when he takes over the lead role, I could see some efficiency stuff going down, or just it feels like there's going to be no dog on that team. And you have the Aaron Eulis gambling scandal, which he was going to play a decent role. Now, I don't know if he's going to play or not. I thought that was a big factor. But, yeah, that's really all I got on this team. Hopefully they're balanced scoring. And I don't know. Maybe Hoiberg can work a miracle here, but I just don't see it for now.
Yeah, Cole, what do you think about Nebraska?
Yeah, no, I'm not reasonably as high on them either. I'm a big Tominaga guy. Partially why I had him at 12th rather than 13th. It was a tough decision, but love Tominaga, and I do give them a knock with Aaron Eulis. I mean, Eulis I thought he was great at Iowa. I thought he fit them perfectly. That whole gambling scandal, that's going to be a knock. My guess is he ain't going to be eligible. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see a path there. Jawan Gary, also, he's got to be healthy. If he's healthy, that could possibly shake things up a little bit. CJ Wilcher should carve out a bigger role. They got some transfers that I somewhat like. I'm not 100% familiar with them, so to speak, but obviously I think they're all decent. They got a transfer. They could say Rink Mast. He averaged 13 a game at Bradley. I think it's 13.8 to be exact, but he could also carve a bigger role. They got a Bryce Williams from Charlotte. It's funny, Bryce Williams from Charlotte, he's a transfer now to Nebraska. He only started in 13 games out of the 36 starts, but he was Charlotte's leading scorer. So if he might start. You never know. I don't know. I have not paid too much attention into Nebraska's depth chart at the moment. We'll probably pick up on that in October, but they got some solid pieces, but I don't see it being enough to compete in the upper echelon of the Big Ten.
Yeah. Rick Mast, you brought him up. He's a solid Missouri Valley big, but against Big Ten bigs, I don't see how he holds his own scoring wise. He'll be fine defensively, but he's not going to be a double-digit scorer, I don't think. And as the primary post guy for the Huskers, that's not a good thing. This team kind of same with Minnesota, where they just can't seem to claw out of the position they found themselves in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can move ahead here. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. The next 2 or 3, actually. Number 12, and the first non-background image was the Northwestern University thing, so I put that instead of the logo. But 11.3 cumulative score for the Cats. Northwestern, a little bit more fascinating, a little bit more intriguing than Nebraska and Minnesota to me. But you guys had them one more spot higher. I still, the bottom 11 is going to be, they're going to have a tough time really clawing out of it to me.
For sure. Yeah, the question really is for Northwestern is how far can Boo Buie take them without Chase Audige, right? And has Boo Buie ultimately hit his ceiling? It's not like he's going to have a higher usage right now. He shot a lot last year as he should have, right? So Northwestern, they retain about 57.3% of their minutes, but Chase Audige is gone. It was basically the Boo Buie, Chase Audige kind of running that thing last year, and that's what obviously got him into a 7 seed. It was a tremendous season for them. They were real good. And, without Chase Audige, I think that will ultimately hurt them. They were did not have a very good shooting. They were not very good. According to Bart Torvik, they shot 47.3% in effective field goal percentage, which was ultimately 318th in the nation. I don't see how much they improved too much from the perimeter. I know they got Ryan Langborn from Princeton should help with that. But ultimately, other than that, I feel like they needed to add a few more pieces, more rotational pieces, to hopefully solidify themselves as a tournament team. I don't see them as a tournament team this year.
You brought up Torvik. Torvik has them as the 6th ranked Big Ten team going into this year. I didn't even when I was making these rankings, I didn't even consider putting them in the upper echelon. I just don't see it. I don't know.
No, I don't see it.
He was too big of a part of the team.
Oh, for sure. Torvik's a great side. I love doing that. I think he's a UW guy from UW-Madison. But, I mean, I don't know who this dude is, but I'm on his site almost every day. It's funny. But, he's got some great – it's a great tool to use if you're just trying to get familiar with rosters, trying to project who's getting more usage or whatnot. But Northwestern being 6th in the Big Ten, that's wild. That's steep. That is steep.
Yeah, I remember when they played Georgetown. That's my hometown team. I tweeted at one point, Collins should never be a road favorite over anyone. I stand by that logic. I stand by it today. Yeah. It was wrong. They beat Patrick Ewing. Yeah. Shocker. But yeah, I stand by that. I'm fading this team. I don't think they're very good. Chase Audige, I think, honestly, should be in the NBA right now. He was the best defender in that conference, and he was one of the best three-point shooters as well. He is a well-rounded game. I looked it up, actually. He, had to deal with the Heat for the Summer League, but then he's just like, nah, I'm too good for that. I'm not going. But then apparently he's like, wait, no one else gave me a deal. I might just go back there. So I have no idea what the hell that situation was. I tried to find anything, and I couldn't. But it's Boo Booey, and that's really it. Chris, you're the Ivy League guy, you nerd. So it could be Langborg if he's anything. But, I really don't expect him to be the number 2 guy on a Big Ten team. And the only reason I have this team at 11 is because the team that I had at 12, I really don't like either.
Yeah. No, Langborg is fine. He was a fine Ivy League player, but he's not even the best Ivy transfer in this conference. Moving on to number 11. And I believe, Cole, you still have your 13th team out there. Yeah. And it will still stay out there because next is the Iowa Hawkeyes with a cumulative score of 10.6. Fran McCaffrey, once again, will have a pretty solid offensive team, but the defense, man, they're going to be bad. They're going to be really bad, and the offense isn't going to be quite as dominant. This has got to be the year where Iowa is just kind of by the wayside in the conference.
Yeah, 100%. So they really didn't do much in the portal. They brought in Ben Crickey. I said it confidently, so I'll assume I'm right.
Craigie, something like that.
So yeah,
something. You're right. It's 50% chance.
Yeah, so we'll just assume I was right with whatever I said first. He averaged 19 points a game at Valpo. Pretty good. He was probably the best low post player in that conference. But one thing I noticed about Valpo, they could not rebound the ball. They were one of the worst rebounding teams in the country. So now this guy's going to rebound in the Big Ten. Good luck. He's very good from that mid-high post area. When I was watching gameplay, that's what I wrote. And then I wrote he is about 30% Luka Garza offensively, which honestly, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Take it. Yeah.
I think at the same time, you lose Chris Murray. I mean, he was awesome. And you're really expecting a lot of junior to senior year jumps from guys like Tony Perkins, Peyton Sanford, or one of the McCaffrey brothers, whichever one it is. There's 9 of them. They happen, but they usually don't happen all that often. Every once in a while, you can find a guy who made that really crazy jump then. But usually it's just not happened. Guys are usually more or less finished products by then, at least in terms of their college production. So I don't know. I just don't have high hopes for this team. I don't think they're going to play any defense, and I don't think they're going to be able to rebound. And if you can't do those two things, you're not going to win many games.
And that's a solid point. Color me optimistic. I had them at 9th. And I guess you could say part of that, I had to write a whole piece on them. Did their whole depth chart, went through all their overseas stuff. Try to get just a gauge on who they have, who's incoming. So overall, they have 6 newcomers. 4 of them will be freshmen, and then 2 will be transfers. And one was Evan Bronze from Belmont, and then Ben Crickey, however you guys want to pronounce it, from Valpo. So they're bringing in 6 new guys. And I think the optimism that I have for Iowa, now you're right, they're not going to play a lick of defense. It's going to bite them in the butt. Fran McCaffrey getting to the Sweet 16, it's not happening. All right. It's just not happening. I don't think it's happening. But the reason why I'm more optimistic on them than I feel most of the media kind of is kind of between Sanford, Peyton Sanford. I mean, he is electric. He was the Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year last year, and I think I know we had the two Murrays that stepped out in back-to-back years. Who's going to be that guy? I don't think Sanford's going to keep those type of scoring numbers that the Murray brothers both had, but I think Sanford can fill that role, and it's gonna be cool to see him play alongside his brother Price Sanford. And I think Peyton might get about 30 minutes, and then Price might get 10. Price is his brother. He's going to be a freshman. He's kind of just that streaky wing. He's 6'6". I think Peyton's 6'5", just a little bit longer. Could be able to slash in there a little bit, but I think Peyton Sanford should be big. Tony Perkins, another one that I like too. But really, it's really just the trio of Patrick McCaffrey, Tony Perkins, Peyton Sanford. I mean, you're relying on DeJounte Bowen probably to be your point guard. Josh Dix might be starting, maybe might get about 20 minutes too. So, it's going to be thin. Defense will be the issue for them for sure.
Yeah. Now we will move on here to what is probably the most eccentric or debatable team among media that I have seen. And that is, once my screen loads here, Penn State. I brought up Penn State's rating to 8th, and this is where I think the NCAA tournament bids stop. I think the Big Ten gets 8 bids, and Penn State is the 8th team. I see your rankings: Cole 13th, Michael 10th. Mike Rhodes, I don't think is a downgrade in coaching from Shrewsbury. No. I think if anything, it's an upgrade, only because I know Michael, but only because he plays such a different style, right? They're really good defensively, which is not new to the Big Ten, but they're very fast defensively. They take a lot of chances, get a lot of steals. Ace Baldwin will lead the conference in steals this year. I'm pretty confident about that. They're going to be really good. I really do see Ace Baldwin last year, and he was hurt for a little bit of the year, but 12.5 points a game, six rebounds or 6 assists a game, a few steals a game. He could be a first team all conference guy, in my opinion.
I'll be the middleman here. I had him 10. Honestly, I might bump him up just because I really want to. I'm glad this is my show, so I can say this. I can say whatever the hell I want. Ace Baldwin's so fucking good. Oh my God, he's so good. Oh my goodness. I think he's one of the best. I think you said first team. I buy it. He's one of the best 10, 15 guys in the portal. He can score from all 3 levels, creates really well for himself and others, defends the position very well. I trust him as a go-to scorer, and as you said, he could lead this conference in steals. Everything he does, I think, really translates to this team. Crafty lefty, very high release on his jumper, and he has a really good right hand too. He's good offhand, good with both hands. So, and just lefties who can use their right hand, they just fuck with you mentally, at least they did for me. And I know a couple people
100%.
Like yeah.
No, they did. They totally did.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I really like him, and I like that they surrounded Baldwin with some shooters. You have, one more thing. He was one of the best players off the catch in the country. I think he was like in the 90-ish range percentile, just off the catch, off spot up situations. So on the ball, off the ball, he's excellent. And they surrounded him with shooters. Zach Hicks, Puff Johnson. They can play 3 or 4. They can hit shots, defend multiple positions. Same thing with DeMarco Dunn. He's a 2. He can light it up when he really gets going. And Raquandis Mitchell is a guy who could keep Baldwin on or off the ball, give him just some more looks. I really like Ace Baldwin. The one thing why I had them 10th, and which frankly I think is probably about as high as most people you're going to see aside from Chris, I don't trust them inside. I've watched Qudus Wahab play so much basketball.
Qudus Wahab sucks. He was so good 2 years ago.
He was so good, and then he went to Maryland, and he got the Mark Turgeon, Danny Manning treatment, and it was like, Mark Turgeon and big men, what are you doing? Their best teams were with guys who could stretch it out, and they just got lucky that just kind of worked out that way. Then he goes back to Ewing V2, and Ewing V2 was worse than Ewing V1, and Ewing V1 was not good. So, yeah, I just don't trust him. And then you have Favor Air, the 4-star recruit, same thing. He was athletic, ton of potential when he played, or when he was a high school kid coming out of high school at Miami. Now, I don't really know what you're expecting from him. So inside is where I'm really worried with this team. They could be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten inside. But if they can get even something, I could see them making the tournament. I don't hate it. Also, this freshman they got, Bragi Gudmundsson, he's a pretty good jumper. I just watched some games on him, so that's really all I got there. But Mike Rhodes, good coach. He's going to win games. Not the flashiest hire, but he'll win games.
Oh, he definitely will. What are you guys' thoughts on Puff Johnson too? That's one I'm optimistic on.
Yeah.
I think it's a fit that fits him perfectly. I think it fits him perfectly. And like you guys hit it on with Mike Rhodes. I think he's a tremendous coach. I think he really is. And, I've always wondered, what would they have done in the 2021 NCAA tournament? I mean, the COVID, you never know, right? You never know. And that team was good.
That Oregon team.
Yeah, that team was good. And I thought they could have hung with Iowa. And it's just it frustrates me because, I mean, he had a golden opportunity. I know. It was.
So good.
Oh, that team was good. That VCU team was good. They were fun to watch. That was a fun team. And I guess, you guys know I have them 13th. The reason for me is I just question how everything's going to fit together. That's really the bottom line with that. I mean, they return, I think it's like 5.5% of their minutes. Who is it? Kanye Clary is one of the only returning dudes, or just of returning minutes. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's what I'm going to question. But no doubt about it, Ace Baldwin. I mean, my goodness, he's a stud. I mean, he has. I don't think he's missed every game he's played. He started in under Mike Rhodes. That's helps tremendously. If I'm not mistaken, he won the A10 Player of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year in both last year. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. He will be tremendous in State College. Like I said, the question that I have is how does it fit together? The pieces need to fall together. I got to see it to believe it. That's the reason why they're 13th.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You brought up Puff Johnson. Yeah. I really could see a scenario where Puff Johnson scores 9 points a game and gets 5 or 6 boards and is like a really productive piece without all of the noise and the Caleb Love effect and everything that comes with being at North Carolina. He could be a good piece. But yeah, you mentioned the minutes returning. Yeah, 5.5%. The next closest is Indiana at 34%.
Wow,
that's a pretty steep drop off. They're starting essentially from scratch. So I don't. I think they'll be sweet, but I do think there'll be a little bit of a learning curve as this season goes along. The 9th ranked team is Rutgers with an 8.6 cumulative score. Michael, you are significantly. I see the stunned face. Oh no! Oh no! What is? Oh, we got to.
You guys take this first.
Okay.
All right, let's see who he's got up the sleeve here.
Rutgers sucks. I'm sorry. Okay, that was mean of me, but I don't think they're going to be very. I look at the roster this year and up and down it. It's like, well, that guy's all right. Fernandez is fine. Omaroi's fine.
Fine. He's like the second best big man in this conference.
I just disagree.
All right. Aside from Zach Edey, who are you taking over Cliff Omoruyi?
If I went up and down the rosters, I think there's probably 6 big men I would take over him.
6?
Yeah. I would rather have Sissoko over him. Sissoko. I would rather have Kella Ware over him.
That was.
You haven't seen him play. He hasn't done anything.
I will say
Oregon. I think Kella. We'll get there.
Well, I remember one play with Amori. They were in Wisconsin in Madison. The game-saving block over a Sejan. I couldn't believe how quick he closed out with his length. I mean, my goodness. Like, I thought when a Sejan put that shot up, Wisconsin lost by 1, by the way. I thought he was going to get that. It was just, I couldn't even imagine Amori would even block that. I mean, just his raw talent, his raw athleticism, his length alone should keep Rutgers at least competitive. But I know, obviously, Michael, you're a little bit higher on them, so.
Yeah, I had them 6. I think this team's really underrated. First thing I wanted to note is that the transfer they brought in, Austin Williams, he's been in college since 2017. So take that for what you will. But Noah Fernandez, when he entered the portal, he was someone I was pretty low on. I know Butler was recruiting him, so I wasn't super high on him. I think I will say right now, I watched him again. I was wrong. I think he fits the system very well. He's very good in the half court offensively. Excellent, really, either on or off the ball, particularly in the pick and roll. He's able to create and get really anyone looks. And the pick and roll between him and Cliff Omoruyi, I think is going to be really good. I think Cliff just rolling to the rim, excellent rim runner, weapon. And he was 45% from 3. Granted, a very shortened season, but that's really good. He can go 26 points against SLU last year, 22 against Colorado, who Chris would tell you is the greatest team in the country. So I'm pretty confident he can play at this level. But the main reason for me is Derek Simpson should be at the top or very close to the top of every breakout list in the country. That kid is special. That kid can go. He's one of the best guards I've seen at getting to the cup. And when McConnell and Mulcahy went down last season, you want to know who the offensive leader was? It wasn't Amari, and it wasn't Spencer. It was Derek Simpson. Kid almost got them to the tournament. Frankly, they should have made the tournament, and it would have been because of Derek Simpson and how he did down the stretch. He was incredible. He averaged 13.7 points per game in the last 5 games they played, making plays when all the defensive attention was on him. He, including 18 points against Purdue in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, he is special. His jumper definitely needs a little bit of work, but I think once he settles in, it'll start falling because it looks fine. Just the numbers weren't there. But he is so good at getting to the cup, getting downhill. He's going to be a weapon for this team. And he can pass the ball pretty damn well, too. I think he is going – and Pikel, I think, is just one of the best coaches in this conference. I think this team is continually disrespected. And no surprise, my roommate actually got me this shirt because I'm so high on this team.
I like it. I like it.
So shout out Ethan.
Yeah.
But as a passer, he's awesome. As a slasher, he's awesome. I think he's going to be the offensive leader for this team. I think he is someone who I could see averaging 13 to 15 points a game this season. I think he is special, truly. And what I said, Cliff Armory's second best big in this conference, I stand by that. Maybe one guy on a team later that I think I'd put over him, but that's it. And you bring in a highly touted 4-star in Gavin Griffiths. He's a top 50 kid, excellent shooter, and he's got really good bounce off 2 feet too. So I think he definitely needs to add a little more muscle. But other than that, I think he's going to be a factor for this team. And Andre Hyatt and Mawat Mag add something off the bench. I'm a little worried about their bench production behind those two, or really even with those two. It's been bad the last couple of years, and they lose depth pieces, so I think it's going to be worse this year. But I think this team's going to surprise people. I think Derek Simpson, if you aren't talking about him, you should be. I think the duo between him and Fernandez is a very good backcourt duo in this conference, and Cliff Armory is one of the best bigs here. So, yeah, this team's going to be good, and you guys are fools.
I will secede the point on Amarui a little bit just because I think I just wanted to poke the bear a little bit. He's not a top 2 or 3 big to me, but he's very good. To be kind of a poo-pooer on the Simpson thing, shot 37% from the floor, 21% from 3, and now he was more effective down the stretch, and I'll give you that. But if you look at the season work that he put up, it's not overly.
He was a freshman.
I mean,
he's not a highly touted freshman. He's going to get better as the season goes on. These guys take time to develop, and I have one of the best developmental coaches in the country.
Sure, but if you want to look at a 4-game sample size, I can find you 1,000 freshmen in the country that have a 4-game sample size that is awesome.
But was their 4-game sample size against multiple teams that made the NCAA tournament, including Purdue, the team who was the number 1 overall seed?
Fair. And went on to lose to a 16. But yeah, for sure.
We'll get to them later.
I can never escape that. Painter will never ever escape that.
He doesn't deserve to. They've been so bad. They've lost to a 12, a 13, a 15, and a 16 or something like that the last 5 years.
The Texas team they lost to. I was on that team. They were good.
They were good. Moving on to number 8 and the last team in the first half of the conference is Michigan with a cumulative score of 8. 8 for Cole, 9 for Michael, 7 for myself. Guys, I think Michigan's going to be just fine. I think they're an NCAA tournament this year. Jalen Llewellyn, I am a big fan of. He missed nearly all of last year, and he was getting mad criticism for his play at the beginning of the year. But I think he's going to be a really good player. And then they bring over Kamwa, and I saw this. A friend of mine and also Cole knows him. Tristan Freeman posted this on Twitter, and I'm curious your thoughts. Would you rather have Nkamwa or Anton Watson of Gonzaga for a big man?
I remember voting in that one, and my vote was Nkamwa. It totally was.
Okay.
I like him. I think he could ultimately be one of the highest impact transfers for a Big Ten team, no doubt about that. He only averaged 20. I think it's like 25 minutes a game last year, and he was all pretty effective in that. And I would expect him to probably get around 29 to 30. So I think that would increase. But I just think his experience, he'll add that, and especially at the forward spot too for Michigan. So there's a lot to like about him. And I think him in Michigan is a good fit, and I think it fits well if he could pair well with Llewellyn, McDaniel at the 1 and 2, You could also get Terrace Reed, and Terrence Williams. He's got some pieces. Juwan Howard's got pieces to work with. He's got the talent. And then Namari Burnett, too. He's another one. I was super high on him when he was heading to Lubbock. He ultimately, what did he last, like a month or two or something like that his first year in Lubbock. Then he went with Alabama, faced injuries. He's at a good spot in Michigan. If he could stay healthy, Juwan Howard's got talent.
Yeah, I think it seems fairly talented. Jalen Llewellyn. I can get so many goofy names right.
That's a tough one. That's tough. That is tough.
But Rothstein said he was fully cleared to play, which I think is a huge factor. He wasn't great last year, but like early sample size. But then he responded to that tweet with 3
question mark.
Yep. I was digging through as you were speaking to find this tweet, so
really?
I don't know if he's going to play.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hope he does.
Either.
I think he matters a lot. And another guy that I don't think either of you guys mentioned, obviously Com was great. Doug McDaniel, he's really good. Former top 100 recruit. He's lightning quick. He's really small, but he's good motor, very quick, very good setup, man. I think that is a really helpful piece for this team, particularly if you get Llewellyn back. You get shooter, guard who can really set up guys, guard who can really score. I think that's a good dichotomy between the two. They'll be small, but like they can make it work. And yeah, Com, as you mentioned, is great. But like other than that, I didn't love the rest of what they did in the portal. Burnett, we just haven't seen anything from. And I think as 2 or 3 years in college, you need to prove to me that you are better than what you've done for the first 3 years. After 1 year, I'll buy into the potential every time. I'm a sucker for it. After 2-3 years, I start to like get real at some point. And Trey Jackson, whenever you played Seton Hall, I was never afraid of their backup big man. So yeah, that's just my take on it. He's a fine player. He's good. Spaces the floor pretty well, and definitely shot and used that well. But also, this team doesn't have a go-to scorer. You lose Caleb Love, who they were pretty much banking everything on as to be their go-to scorer. They don't really have a go-to scorer right now. And this team's all right. Like, they're solid. If they had a better coach, I'd trust them more. But, like, I don't really trust Juwan Howard. Like, he had two NBA players and Hunter Dickinson. 2 lottery picks and Hunter Dickinson. And they didn't do shit last year. I can't expect him to do something with lesser talent. And I've got coaches in this league that I think are much better than him. So as a result, I have this team lower.
Yeah. Certainly they underperformed last year. It is interesting on Bart Torvik. Doug McDaniel is what Torvik projects to be the highest scorer and the highest usage guy on the team.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see how the usage plays out. It'll be fascinating to see him and Llewellyn, hopefully, both in the backcourt.
Ooh, one thing, I haven't watched Terrence Williams play a ton. Has he shown anything? Because I watched him play in high school. I was at the WCAC final. He was the best player on the floor between Gonzaga, PVI. Like Casey Morcell played in that game, Chuck Harris, Miles Studi, guys like that. He was the best player on the floor by a long shot. But like he hasn't done anything there. Has he like shown anything?
I mean, he's kind of like that big body, I guess you could say. I think he scored maybe I think it was like 6 a game. He wasn't much of a scorer. Started. I like Terrence Williams. I think another year. I mean, he's developed from year 1 to year 2, not to year 3. I guess we'll see what he does in year 4. It's just every year he's incrementally increased his statistics. We'll see what happens this year.
I liked him. He was good. I hope he can be somewhere. He was really good.
All right, moving on to 7th in the top half of the conference. With a straight 7 overall is Indiana. We were all pretty middle of the pack on Indiana, pretty aligned. They lose a lot, only 35%, as we said, returning minutes. Replacing TJD cannot be overstated. That he was their team. He was their guy. And so he did so much for them, and not having him, it puts a lot of – and Race Thompson's gone too. So a lot of questions down low. I do think Kello Ware will be probably better than anticipated. He was stuck dealing with N'Faly Dante on the same team. 2 7-footers on the floor at the same time rarely works out well, Dana Altman. But I think he'll be better this year. And but Indiana as a whole, the upside's not really there. Good floor, but not the super high ceiling.
I would argue they have a very high ceiling and a very low floor, honestly. Particularly your point guard, Xavier Johnson. That guy is so talented. He could be great. At the same time, he can just make some really dumb mistakes late in games. That's going to happen. Kello Ware, High ceiling, low floor. I think he played really poorly last season. You mentioned Dana Altman. I buy into that team late season every year too.
Every year.
Come on, Dana Altman. Like
Every
I
year.
always, it's like February. I'm like, dude, this team's making the tournament. Say what you want. Never do. Never
Nope.
do.
NAT quarterfinals. That's just where they end up.
Yeah.
It feels like.
That's destiny.
Yeah, destiny.
Man, Ware's potential is sky high. He was top 10 recruit for a reason. He was always going to take time to develop. Like I read some back on some of the expectations from recruiting. One thing they were worried about, his motor was like questionable. But he has very good hands, he's skilled, runs the floor really well. So if he's really good, I think that is a huge factor. If he's bad, they got nothing inside. They're really relying on him. And Mackenzie Mbakbo, the top 10 recruit they got later in the cycle, prototypical stretch four, excellent shot maker, excellent from the high post, can stretch out, hit threes consistently, very smooth jumper. He's going to be a matchup nightmare. Not a particularly great athlete, but he will hold his own on the glass as a four against some tough competition, and he's switchable defensively. 3-and-D wing, tremendous upside. I just see so many guys with upside, even like someone like their backups, like Gabe Cubs. Upside, he can really score.
Sure.
Can he defend? No idea. We'll see, but he's very good offensively. But yeah, you lose TJD, you lose Jalen Hood-Schifino. Those two guys were the team last season, so they're very tough to rank for me. I could see the high. I could see them being as good as possible, finishing towards the top of this league. At the same time, I could see this thing completely bottoming out.
Yeah. Trey Galloway is another guy that is worth mentioning. He shot 46% from three last year. This year, he's going to have to shoot more of them. If he still shoots, above 40%, and again, can be a consistent shooter, because Xavier Johnson, although, yes, the talent is there, was not always the most consistent last year. If he can shoot like that, that definitely gives them another element, but the questions are certainly in the interior to me. We can hop over to number 6, guys, and that's where we find Maryland.
Oh, wow.
A big, wide range of outcomes for the Terps. 6th, 3rd, and 9th. Michael had them 3rd. Cole had them 6th. I had them 9th. Michael, I'm genuinely curious why you have them so high. What about the Terrapins leads you to believe they're a top 3 team in the conference?
Yeah, so let's start with this. I hate Maryland. I just do. I grew up a Georgetown fan, therefore I just dislike Maryland. That's kind of how it works. That being said, you return Jameer Young and Julian Reese, the brother of Angel Reese. Jameer Young was a top 5 point guard in this league. He averaged 16 points a game last season with less help in the backcourt. Julian Reese, he allows Maryland to play so differently, and Kevin Willard's just a good coach. He's going to use him well. He's quick, rebounds really well, block shots really well. He was the guy who I think if you're putting any big above Cliff Amarui, I think it's Julian Reese. I think he's that good. But the real reason is, and I think people don't understand, I keep saying it, and I'm going to say it till probably he ends up getting drafted. Deshaun Harris-Smith's a one and done. This kid is a lottery pick. This kid's a first-round pick. This kid is incredible. He is absolutely incredible. He's mean. He's physical. He's a big-bodied wing. He finishes so well around the rim. He's either going to go around you or he will go through you. Get the N1 easy. He is mean. He's mean. It doesn't matter if you're bigger, you're stronger. Just kidding. He's stronger than you. He's just going to be stronger than you. He's going up with force. He's going to finish through you. If like some of the skinnier 7-footers, he's going to finish through you. He's going to bully you. He is a monster defensively. He'll get steals. You're not getting by him. He rebounds incredibly well for his size. He can guard 1 through 4, maybe even some 5s because he's just so physically strong. He makes you stop him with a full head of steam going to the rim. Spoiler alert, you're not going to stop him. And his 247 profile mentions him as not a natural shooter, but he managed to shoot 40% from beyond the arc in EYBL play. I don't know, 40%. Maybe he just got lucky on those shots. I don't know. Doesn't look pretty, but he's mean. He's going to put this league on notice. He is my freshman of the year pick in this conference safely. I think he could be a second-team all Big Ten guy. He is that good. He is a one and done. He is a problem. This kid is special. If you don't know, you will know.
Oh, for sure. I remember I was talking with somebody. I forgot his name. But it was like a couple weeks ago. We were talking about Maryland, just kind of about the pieces they got and whatnot. And the first thing he said was always the freshman. And it was obviously him. Lo and behold, right? It was obviously him, Deshaun Harris-Smith. I mean, quite frankly, I've watched his highlights. I've watched play of him. I haven't watched him completely on the UIBL circuit and whatnot. So it's more of that I'm going to trust the word and know that, he is going to be good. And, you can't forget Jameer Young, Julian Reese, and Dante Scott is that talented trio. I mean, Kevin Willard's got pieces. And Kevin Willard's a pretty good coach. I'll give him that. I know he gets a little knock on his tournament success and whatnot, but he did a pretty darn good job at Seton Hall. I thought they would have been good when the COVID season was canceled. They were probably about a 3 seed that year. I thought they could have made some noise. But, he's in the successful season last year. I don't think any of us thought they were going to the round of 32 last year. And look what they did. So he's done a pretty good job in College Park. Entering the year 2, he's got a solid trio to build off of. He's got a freshman in there that will make a lot of noise, and I think that they could be pretty good for sure.
What do we think about Jordan Geronimo coming over? Big impact, medium impact, or essentially no impact?
Medium.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one piece that I have talked to, I think, 2 Maryland guys, and they're like, well, look at the flashes Geronimo had at Indiana. Like, he could be awesome. I don't know. Like, I guess. Sure, maybe.
We'll say he might show flashes, but I don't know. Yeah, consistently, I don't know. I question it, but he'll play. He'll get some minutes for sure. No doubt about that.
I don't think they need him to be anything special. Granted, I'm very high on Deshaun Harris-Smith. I think, as I've made kind of clear at some point, maybe. I don't know. But you got him, and Donta Scott's going to play big minutes. Julian Reese is going to play big minutes. Jimmy Young's going to play big minutes. You're not going to need him to be anything more than, the 5th guy. And Jamie Kaiser's another kid they brought in. Physical wing, smooth jumper. Doesn't do a ton off the bounce, but he can shoot it. So I really don't think they're going to ask Geronimo to do a ton. Honestly, I think he's just fine. I wish they did a little more in the portal to maybe have other people like them as much as I do, and I'd rather them lose. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to be backing this team quite a bit this season. So I'm on the bandwagon.
Okay. Well, moving on to the 5th team, Ohio State, who had just an abysmal year last year. And this is, I don't want to say hot seat season, but it kind of is for Chris Holtmann. Like, he has to make the NCAA tournament, I think. I have them 5th. Cole has them 5th. Michael has them 7th. I really do buy into the Buckeyes just because I do, despite last year, I trust Holtmann. Jamison Battle comes over from Minnesota, and I think he could be like a legit all-conference, all-team guy. And then Zed Key's still there. Dale Bonner should be a little bit better. I think there's enough pieces there that it should kind of come a bit together more than the last couple of years.
For sure. They're kind of that ultimate blend of transfers. They got a good freshman class coming in. They also get some experience back too. And to have that blend, I think, will certainly not make Ohio State go 5-15 in Big Ten play again this year. Now, I know they finished strong in the Big Ten tournament, but I definitely see this team making the tournament. They're very high upside, no doubt about it. Chris Holtmann is really good with guards, no doubt about it. He can develop guards. And we got Bruce Thornton, we got Dale Bonner from Baylor, we got Roddy Gale Jr. That's a pretty good guard trio to work around with. And they got Penn State transfer Evan Mahaffey. I think that's how you say his name. Now, I know he didn't get a lot of minutes last year, but the minutes in which I saw him play, I'm a big believer. I don't know how much minutes he'll get, but he's a great development piece, a good long-term piece for Chris Holtmann. And I think that he's got a good roster. This is a good roster. This is a talented team. Ohio State will easily get into the tournament this year, for sure.
Bruce Thornton is really, I think he's special. I think he will be on my all-breakout team along with Derek Simpson. But honestly, the only reason I don't know if he's there is because he might have already broken out. This kid is special. He is absolutely special. His jumper is money, incredibly effective at all 3 levels, picked up steam in the Big Ten tournament, had 21 against Michigan State's loaded backcourt. Money is a playmaker too. I think this kid could score 15 to 17 points a game. I think this kid's great. And good recruiting class, as Cole mentioned. I spoke a lot in the last couple of teams, so I'm going to shut the fuck up now.
Yeah, like speaking of breakout too, you got Felix Okpara.
Yep.
Look at that, and this is an interesting one where I'm trying to get a gauge on who Chris Holtmann will start. He could realistically start him over Zed Key. Now, I don't think he'll do that, but I don't see that one bit. In my opinion, I don't think he would do that. I think Zed Key is kind of, he can hit a hook shot just like that. It's easy, but the fact that Felix Okpara, he's shown that promise and he's shown that skill to what he can do during Key's absence. So I think that Okpara could certainly carve out a much bigger role than what he saw last year. Obviously, what we saw towards the end of the year too as well.
Yeah, Dale Bonner, Cole, you mentioned him. this is a much better fit, more organic fit
Oh yeah,
for his skill
totally.
set than Baylor was, I think. You have only had 4.5 points per game, but in the right system. And I think Ohio State could be the right system. I do think he could be a pretty productive player as well on the wing. Moving into the top 4 now. So we got Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan State, and Purdue. 4th is Cole's Badgers. A straight 4 all around for everybody. Yes.
Yeah.
Cole, give us the rundown. You're the expert here on the Badgers. What do you think?
I mean, watched a lot of their games last year, although it wasn't as pretty. You can't deny the fact that they return all 5 of their starters. And obviously, people will knock on them and say, yeah, all 5 starters from a team that was not very good last year. They're okay. They were decently good, made the NIT. But, to get over that ceiling ultimately for the Badgers, what has to happen is you need to have some of that pop, right? They didn't really have that last year offensively. They got really stagnant, and I think a big addition with that will be AJ Storr. And I think that's his impact with Wisconsin will be tremendous. And quite honestly, I can see him taking over in the starting 5, and then Max Klesmit will probably be their 6th man. I don't know. I haven't talked to Greg Gard. I don't know. I don't talk to him. So, I don't know what he's thinking. But that seems like a reasonable option if you want to, kind of mix and match there a little bit, get a little bit more pop in your offense. I mean, you got Tyler Wall coming back. And I know he had some injuries last year, too. He faced them, and every time he was out, Wisconsin lost. He had a tremendous impact. Stephen Crowell should make a big jump. Chucky Hepburn, another one, I think will probably – I wouldn't say he didn't hit his ceiling yet, but, last year was a little bit of a disappointment. I know, his finishing wasn't really up to par. Missed a lot of layups, albeit, obviously closely contested. But, Greg Gard's returning, I want to say, 89, 90% of the minutes for Wisconsin. That is tremendous, and that cannot be ignored for sure.
Yeah, Stephen Crowell and Tyler Wall, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch down low. Storr is fascinating. I do worry about the bench after the top 6.
Yeah.
So I think that's my biggest concern with this team, right?
Yep.
Is, one injury, and then I think you're really, really weak on the bench. So I do kind of hope Storr comes off the bench just to provide some scoring juice for 20 minutes a game. We'll see. Michael, what do you think of the Badgies?
If AJ Storr committed to Wisconsin to come off the bench, that kid needs to reevaluate his recruitment process. He could have started on 75, 80% of high major teams. I don't know what he's doing then.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah, I'm very high on AJ Storr. I think he's a dynamite shooter, and I think he's very good defensively. And I saw him create for himself in multiple games, too. I think he was the 2nd best offensive player on that St. John's team for most of the season last year. I'd put Soriano ahead of him.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. So I'm really high on AJ Storr. And I think I really like Tyler Wall. You guys have mentioned him at length. I just think he's a consistent bucket down low. And I think Connor Seekins tend to develop a ton. Very good freshman year, showed flashes of brilliance. He's only getting better. So you give me those 3 at Chucky Hepburn, at Stephen Crowell. I think this team's going to be very good. I think they're going to be – Wisconsin, when they're good, is the epitome of a team that can beat the champion but can never be the champion. And I feel like that's the team.
Yep. They'll probably be a double-digit loss team. They got a tough non-conference schedule. I could probably see 21-10 or something like that if I'm just the Big Ten schedules was released. So I got to take a bigger look into that. But, they got to go to Michigan State. They got to go to Purdue. And they also, Michigan State and Purdue do come to Madison too. So, and I know you guys touched on their depth in rotation, their depth being thin, which I would agree. Now, I don't know what Gard was doing with. I thought that they should have added another backup big. Similar to what Chris Vogt was 2 years ago. I thought that would have been a nice addition if they would have got somebody like that. But they're probably going to be banking on Gus Yalden. They call him the Gus Bus. He's one of their freshmen. He's kind of looks like they call him like the mini Jokic or stuff like that. I don't know. Again, you see these guys. A lot of them, I just watch what they do on YouTube or whatever I can get my hands on. It's a lot of positive feedback. He's a freshman. I'm not sure. Maybe that's the reason why Gard did not get a backup big, because he's banking on Yalden. I don't know. But I thought that's probably, if they would have had a backup big, I probably could have got him in the 3rd. But nonetheless, they'll be good. No doubt about it.
Guys, did you see that? Since you brought up Jokic, did you see the Jokic video of him dancing in that club?
I did.
I put that on when I'm having a tough day.
It's
just makes me laugh.
Like, this is one of the best basketball players in the NBA, if not one of the best. So, and here he is, just not caring. He's just got the best mantra he carries. It's great.
He's awesome.
All right, moving on to top 3. This one shouldn't be a surprise, I don't think. Illinois. I have them second, actually. Michael 5th, and then Cole 3rd. I'm pretty high on Illinois. And now I know last year was a little bit of a train wreck, and a lot of it was personnel and things just sort of not meshing together. But you look at what they have coming back. Terrence Shannon is one of my favorite players in the conference, to be frank. Domask is really good. Coleman Hawkins can be like a triple-double guy on any given day. Not consistently, but he has that potential in him. Justin Harmon's pretty fine. Guerrier also is a guy that, in the right system, he could be really good, and he didn't really show it. I think it was Oregon. Was he at Oregon last? I think, but
yeah,
correct.
Once again, he shows spurts of being really good. I really like all the pieces, and we'll see how it comes together. Obviously, last year I liked all the pieces too, and it didn't come together really that well. So, but I do think the ceiling's really high.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, ultimately, you got to think, like, at some point, Underwood's got to break through in the NCAA tournament. At some point, he's got it. He's had some good teams, and this team is just as good. I mean, you got Coleman Hawkins and TSJ. I mean, hell, those are two really, really good players, and I'm a big TSJ fan. I think Terrence Shannon is. I mean, he was spectacular last year. He was pretty darn good at Texas Tech. I know some of the fans kind of, he played hero ball towards the end. He tried to just chuck up a 3 to try to win. But, he's been through what now? He's been through Chris Beard, Mark Adams, and now Brad Underwood. That's an interesting group of coaches he's had to play for. But, no, I think Illinois will definitely be good. Domask, too. Wisconsin native, too. Add some significant minutes, could add some pop, could add some scoring for sure for them.
Yeah, you guys mentioned Shannon Domask. Shannon is probably the best pure scorer in this conference in my mind, maybe aside from Tyson Walker. But, dude gets buckets. He's an NBA prospect, a legit NBA prospect. And Domask, excellent high post creator, can score, really scored all 3 levels for himself. Very smooth jumper. Not a great athlete, but, really creative in everything he does. You guys mentioned them both. They're great. And as I was looking at Jaden Epps for the article I released the other day, like a month ago, if you find someone who loves you the way Fran Fraschilla loved Sincere Harris, you will be set for life. He loved him. It's like game 2. He's basically like, this kid might be Gary Payton. It's like, all right, sure. Yeah, I'll buy it. What the hell? Why not? But one thing that really bothered me about this Illinois team last year, there was no shooting and the fit was nonsensical. He brings in Justin Harmon, who in his own right is a very good player. But next to Terrence Shannon, who is best going to the rim, he brought in a /first scoring point guard. That was exactly what he had in Jaden Epps, and it didn't work out. So naturally, he does the same thing again. I really don't understand the fit on this roster. I just think some pieces are kind of crazy. You have Dane Dinga. He's a dominant space eater, but again, he's eating space. Gary Hawkins, I think they're about the same guy. Neither of them are great shooters. So this roster has so much talent. If you can maximize it, they were the hardest team for me to rank because they have so much talent. But at the same time, I don't think the fit makes a ton of sense. But also, they brought in this kid last semester. Let me just show you how to pronounce his name. It's Nicolo Moretti. Nicolo Moretti.
Is that Davide's brother right there?
No idea.
They could, from the Texas Tech guy. It might have been. I'm not sure.
Yeah, could have been, honestly. I don't know if he plays a ton, but if he's good, I think he fits really well with Terrence Shannon. So,
yeah.
Starting if he's good, and if
Justin Harmon. So what do you think about? You like Justin Harmon, but just not with Shannon in the backcourt? Is that the thought there? Okay,
100%.
Justin Harmon was sweet at Utah Valley. I was a big fan. I think overall maybe I'm just a kind of a bigger fan of the pieces. The Harmon and Guerrier, I think both will be sweet. And Terrence Shannon. Now here's my one concern: their last win. I'm pretty sure their last win away from home against an NCAA tournament team was like November 19th last year against UCLA in a game where Terrence Shannon had to go like 7 for 7 from 3 in the second half to win. They can't win away from home right now. The last 2 years, actually, they just haven't been able to win away from home. So they got to clean that up. Just winning at home, it won't cut it this year, but we'll see.
And Matt Meyer, RJ Melendez were two guys who were brought in as excellent shooters. They couldn't hit shots last year. The offense
No.
was so congested, and I just don't see a ton of 3-point scoring from this team. That's the one thing that really concerns me.
Yeah, and I know Ty Rodgers too is another one.
Yeah.
Couldn't shoot. Did he maybe shot 1 3? Not even he didn't shoot from behind the arc at all. Now you're gonna expect Underwood's probably gonna have to expect him to maybe step behind the arc, but like you need shooters. Bottom line, you need shooters. Where do they get that from? How do they get it from? In terms of TSJ will probably run in transition. He's effective in that lefty. He's so smooth, but you never know. It's there will be question marks with shooting, no doubt about it. That is true.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're moving on to the top two. I will reveal in tandem. Cole and Michael both had different number ones. I broke the tie, and I had Michigan State at 3, which means Purdue is the number 1 team in the conference. Michigan State, we'll start with them. Now, here is my question with Michigan State is they play round 1 as a 7 seed. Well, actually, even let's go to round 2. Let's say they lose to Marquette. Are they viewed this high? Are they viewed how they're viewed, if not for 2 really good games in the NCAA tournament?
I'd say no. I don't think the general public would.
No.
Yeah.
No. And so I just can't wait that much just on the NCAA tournament appearance. Yes, they return everybody, and that's awesome and good for them. But this team was a 7 seed last year for a reason. They were fine. They were a pretty good Big Ten team. I don't know. Hoggard is going to have to play for them to achieve the heights that everyone seems to think they will. Hoggard is going to have to play how he played in the NCAA tournament, and I'm not sure that is a reasonable expectation.
I had them 1. I think he can be that good. I just do. They returned 5 of their top 6 scorers. You only lose Joey Hauser. Meh. They bring in 0 transfers. I feel like that's a note because every media member is going to mention that at some point, and they're just going to talk about how the transfer portal is awful because Thomas is great and he doesn't have any transfers. So we can get ahead of that one now. I would disagree, but hey, you live your life. But they have a top 10 recruiting class with this team as well. I think that's really key with it. That's part of the reason why I'm buying into this team. Xavier Booker is awesome. He is awesome. Jeremy Fears, they brought in a really quick athletic guard. Very good at getting downhill. I think he's going to be very good off the bench. Cohen Carr, incredible athlete on the wing. They brought in some athletes, which is I feel like something they were kind of missing last year. They just have like raw athleticism now. I think that really adds to this team. And Xavier Booker is a legit 6'10". I don't know this for a fact. This is just a guess, just based on watching him play. I feel like he played guard growing up and just had a really big growth spurt because he plays like a guard. He has legit guard skills. He's very good. He has some absolutely vicious dunks. He's very good at handling the ball, and he has a pretty lefty jumper too. High release point on it. He hits a couple pull-up middies from 3. Definitely getting better from there, but I just like the guys they brought in. I really like the freshman class, and I think they fit well with the team they had last year. So, yeah, 1's probably high, all things considered. I feel like Purdue would be an easy number 1 pick, but I don't know. I just really like this team. I like their guards, and I like what they brought in.
Yeah,
Cole, what are your thoughts on Michigan State?
I high on them, no doubt about it. I mean, you're number 2 for a reason in the Big Ten. You must be pretty darn good, right? Speaking of Jeremy Fears, I got the chance to. He came down to Madison. Him and his brother Jeremiah Fears got to play at the 608 basketball tournament, so I got to watch him, and he was extremely impressive, Jeremy Fears. And you see him in person; he's not that big at all. He's not that big, and his athleticism, his motor. I mean, this dude was athletic for how big he was. He was not I don't know. For my opinion, I didn't think he was that tall. I mean, this team, Joliet West, they're reasonably sized, of course, but I think he could carve out a big role. I see he's obviously probably he's in a log jam. I don't see him getting anywhere near probably 10 plus minutes a game. Yeah. But I mean, this is no doubt about it. I mean, Izzo's back on his track here, I think, and I mean, Tyson Walker, A.J. Hoggard, Jaden Akins, Malik Hall, Matty Sissoko. I mean, those are guys you can name off right now. Those guys will be tremendous. And this will be a great team. Izzo's got the pieces. Does he get them to the Final Four? We'll have to see. I don't know. It's kind of all about matchups. I don't know. But it's going to be a very good team.
Yeah, they're fascinating. We'll go ahead and move to number 1 now and finish this up. Purdue is a team that I put them number one, but it was almost just by default because they're better than almost unarguably they are better than they were last year, and they dominated the conference last year. So felt like I had to put them number one. That doesn't mean I love the team. Edie is obviously he's the best player in the country for my money. He's fantastic, but they have to be more consistent around him. Guys like Fletcher Lawyer, Mason Gillis, these guys need to shoot better from three. When you have a dominant, true big like Edie, you need to surround him with competent shooters, and at times they just weren't a competent shooting team, but they won the conference, so what do I know? But but Fletcher Lawyer's the big one. He has the talent to be a 40% three-point shooter, in my opinion. He just needs to do it.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head with the supporting cast. That's what it's going to revolve around. So in my opinion, Edie, I think he's hit his ceiling. You can't ask him to do much better, right? Like you realistically cannot do that. It's all about the supporting cast. And don't get me wrong, Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith were tremendous last year. Towards the end of the year, not so much, right? And I know Painter always harped on, it's the turnovers at the end and things of stuff like that. What they really needed is I remember hearing him in an interview, he was talking about what they needed was that pop offensively. Could that Southern Illinois transfer, Lance Jones, be that guy? I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see with that. I don't know specifically. You don't watch Purdue practices right now. I don't know what he's rolling with there, but no doubt about it, there's a little bit more athleticism in there. Purdue could maybe move a little bit better offensively because they weren't the most mobile team, so to speak, I guess you could say, especially in transition as well. But no, nonetheless, they were a 1 seed last year, the best team in the Big Ten. They get the best player in the country back. This is going to be a good team. Can they get over the hump? I would hope so. You would think so. They should. Now they should. And notice how I say should. You don't know. But when you lose to St. Peter's, you lose to North Texas, and then you lose to Farley Dickinson, that's going to be a little question mark. That is for sure.
I'm never going to forget this because I should have just stopped in the moment and said they're losing to a good coach. Matt Painter, after they won the Big Ten championship, they were asked, what do you do? How are you going to break the press? He was asked about that in January. He did nothing. He was asked about it in February. He did nothing. He was asked about it in March. He was like, no, breaking press, it's not that hard. Then he lost to a team that solely won because they pressed. When Coach Tobin Anderson, when he was like, I see holes in this team, it was the press break. Clearly, that was it. They can't break a press. So if you can convince me that Matt Painter coached a press break over the summer, I'd have them number one. Problem is, I just think he might think it's just easy. He's like, I got Lance Jones. He'll break the press. We got it. I just don't know. And also, has Mason Gillis been in college for like 10 years? Because I thought
it does feel like he's been there. Yeah, it really does.
And then I looked at like the roster. I'm like, oh my god, he's back. Oh, that's awesome. Good for them. But questions about the 3 or 4 spot for me. I think Gillis runs the 4 as he should. Who takes the 3? Is it Ethan Morton still? Miles Colvin, developmental freshman, good athlete. I liked him. And then I also think Trey Kaufman ran off the bench. I like his skill set. I think he's going to take a jump, and going against those guys every day, I think it'll make him better. I think his production off the bench could spell Edie at times, so maybe Edie could even be like more efficient in his lesser minutes. I like his skill set. I think he could break out. He's versatile. He can play inside, play outside. Good, excellent at pick and roll. So, I think you guys hit it on the head with everything else.
You brought up who did they play in the Big Ten championship? Was that Penn State?
Penn State.
Because I do remember that interview where they were like, what do you think about press bait? He was like, it's, don't worry about it. I don't know why we just couldn't do it. It's so easy. I was like, dude, you almost lost this game because you couldn't do it. Oh my God. But you're right about some of the other people. It is interesting to me, and maybe it's just because they're giving so much NIL money to Edie, but I'm surprised they couldn't get another, decent guy in the portal to come play and say, hey, do you want to play with the best player in the country and come win a national championship? But nobody bit, so I don't know.
Yeah. There's an interesting article today. There's just an interesting article today. I remember CJ Moore from The Athletic wrote about Trey Kaufman-Renn, how Painter told him how he should have played him more. He said he messed up, should have played him more. So I don't know. Was that just to say that he didn't want him to go to the portal? I don't know. I don't know. But, I think Trey Kaufman-Renn could be – I don't know what specifically that CJ Moore was touching on, how they could try to mix him into the starting lineup. I don't know how that works quite literally, but who knows what they're thinking, what Painter's brewing up. But obviously, something more than likely needs to change. But hell, they're set up for success for the long term, no doubt about it. So we'll see. Time will tell with Painter for sure.
Yeah, I saw that article on my Twitter feed, or it's Twitter, earlier.
Yeah.
I did this research before I saw that, so that just kind of it made me feel like, hey, I'm smart. But when I looked at like Drickoff and Ren's like his analysis like coming out of high school, people mentioned like, yeah, he actually can stretch and hit a jumper. He's versatile enough there, and I don't think that really showed in his time at Purdue last year. So maybe Painter can try to use that, and he's more than just a low post guy.
Yeah, for sure. I think he might have to. I think you want to utilize the talents to what you got, and I think he's a perfect example of to do that. He showed some good stuff last year. For granted, small sample size, but he definitely showed some good stuff last year, and I thought he should have played a little bit more, and he should get a bigger role this year. Now, minutes, I can't project that one yet, so we'll see. But, he should definitely carve out a much bigger role this year. Totally.
Yeah. All right, guys, that will do it from us. Michael, Cole, anything else Big Ten related you want to say? No?
You dummies are way too low. I don't want Maryland to be good. But Deshaun, he's a lottery pick. You were adding a lottery pick to that team. Like, come on.
Maryland and Rutgers, man, you're off base.
We call it East Coast bias.
What world?
We call it East Coast bias. That's what we'll call it.
Cool. Cole,
give me over 8.5, Chris. Over 8.5. Anything you want on it. They are easily finishing over 8.5 in this conference.
Over 6.5.
6.5 deal.
Take that.
You're on.
For sure.
You're on.
Done.
We'll discuss terms.
Yeah.
Well, Cole, thank you again for coming on. You can find
Cole I appreciate it, guys.
Brackets. Hey, Cole, anything else you want to plug? Your Twitter? What's your Twitter?
Shit.
Yeah, Play for March. I made that when I was a sophomore in high school and haven't changed it yet. Play for March. You got to play for March Madness. That's what you got to do, guys.
Yes.
Of course. Well, thanks, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on, man. Sharp
of course,
dude.
Guys.
Shout out to him. You should follow him. If you don't, you're an idiot.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.